This Sunday is called the Sunday for Rejoicing, the Sunday for Joy, and as I said, the weather doesn't really contribute to this, but that's something out of our control. But if you remember, so the news of late has not added to our joy as we read of the situation in Newton, Connecticut the other day, plus many, many other things in the daily newspaper that are not causes for our joy. And then we recall years ago when we were young, this was really a time of joyful expectation as we got closer and closer to the feast of Christmas. And perhaps that's the clue to why we don't feel the same kind of joy at this point in our lives that we used to. And of course the contrast will always be there. We always have that recollection of Christmases past. What made children so joyful at this time of year was the fact that everything revolved around them. You know, Christmas was coming, stockings were filled, presents were there, hid in the house. Everything revolved around them, as it should, as it should. But what happens with many of us is that we still expect years later that life is going to revolve around us, and it doesn't. And so what is the secret of Christian joy? Well, I think the prophet, you have to know the context, Zephaniah and all these prophets that during this time of year are calling us to joy, are talking to people who are in exile and who are about to move geographically from where they had been living in exile back to Jerusalem, back to the Holy Land. Well, maybe that's a hint for us. We have to move. We have to move out of the center of the circle. Children's lives have concentric circles all around them. Parents, family, schoolmates, all those people. And we continue to try to live like that when we need to get out of the circle, out of the center, and into one of those concentric circles. But you can't have a vacuum in the center. You know, even God, for many of our lives, or parts of our lives, or attitudes in our lives, is in a circle around us. And he has to move too. He's in exile if he's in a concentric circle around us. He has to move to the center. That's the reality. God is in the center. And we are in one of those circles. But it's only in being in one of those circles that we will find the happiness that we desire. Because in reality, existence, life doesn't revolve around us. It revolves around God. That's why when God came to us in the person of Jesus, he said, the one who loses life saves it. So when we give up being the center of our own existence and become more involved in the lives of others for their sake, for God's sake, then happiness, joy enters into our life. One of the great writers of the last century said, the infallible sign of the presence of God in your life is joy. But that means that God is in the right place in our life, which is center stage. So let's accept our exile and let's move, and we will be filled with joy.